Hi there. Welcome to African Hope Learning Center online session with me, Elijah Sheikh. And today we shall be talking about the various ways to solve simultaneous equations. Actually, we'll specifically focus on the graphical methods of solving simultaneous equations, which is one of the ways of solving simultaneous equations. And then secondly, we shall look at the elimination method, but it is not going to be on this video. And then thirdly, we are going to look at the substitution methods. The last two are not going to be included in this video, but the first one is what we will focus on today. So the examples that we are going to use from in this video are going to be from grade 8 Sudanese mathematics. And basically, if there is any examples that we might use, maybe we take from any other book, but that is the book we shall be using. So we are also going to look at the graphical solutions of the simultaneous equations. That is actually the main reason for this video. So in these lessons, it is very important to note that in order for you to solve any equations graphically, especially simultaneous equation graphically, you must have the prior knowledge of a Cartesian plane, how to plot the points on the Cartesian plane, and how to even draw the Cartesian plane. So that is very important. So for you to understand this concept here, you must first go back and revisit your work on how to plot the points on the Cartesian plane and how to draw the Cartesian plane and presents the points on it. So to solve simultaneous equation graphically, there are steps that you must always follow, and each of these steps is very important in its own way. For me, I have summarized them to be 3 steps, but actually they are more than that. I was just like trying to not make everything long, so I simplified these steps to be 3 steps. So these steps are very important because if you miss any of the steps, or if you don't know any of the steps, for example, step number 1, it will be very difficult for you to solve simultaneous equation graphically. So the step of graphical solutions of simultaneous equation are as follows. Step number 1. In the step number 1, the two equations must be represented in form of y is equal to mx plus c. This is the equation. This is a way in which we can present an equation that we are able to plot on the Cartesian plane. And this is achieved by making y the subject of the formula. In these equations now, the y is the subject of the formula. So the question we might answer later is that how do we make y the subject of the formula? So take for example these equations. There we have equation number 1 here, 4x plus y is equal to 7. And then equation number 2, y minus x is equal to 3. So these equations, these two equations, are what we combined and call simultaneous equations. So why are they called simultaneous equations? Because you have two equations that you have to solve at the same time. So the concept of representing equations in form of y is equal to mx plus c is in such a way that it depends on the concept of understanding the sides of the equations. So the equations has two sides. There is a left-hand side of the equations and the right-hand side. So since we know that we have left-hand side and right-hand side, we are going to manipulate any equations in such a way that we will only remain with y on the left-hand side of the equations, and then take any other things, everything, maybe x or maybe something x, maybe constant, all this should go to the right-hand side of the equation so that we only remain with y standing alone on the left-hand side. we will see shortly the importance of doing that. So if we let the y to remain on one side of the equation, that is what we exactly mean by making the subject of the formula. So we make y the subject of the formula by making it remain on the left-hand side of the equations. So for example, in the equations number 1 from the slide of before, the equation in such a way that 4x plus y is equal to 7. So our target here is to make y the subject of the formula, and by doing that we are going to subtract 4x from both sides. We are going to subtract 4x from both sides, and if we subtract it from both sides, you can see 4x minus 4x plus y is equal to 7 minus 4x. 4x minus 4x gives us 0. 0 plus y is the same as y. So y is going to be equal to 7 minus 4x. Therefore, we have now the equations y equal to 7 minus 4x for the equations number 1. Equation number 2, we have y is equal to x. Y minus x, is equal to 3. So this is equation number 2. And in this equations number 2, we are going to manipulate it in such a way that we move x to the other side of the equation. So when we move x to the other side of the equation, you must always take care of the sign. So the sign of the x here is negative. So in order to move it to the other side, we have to add it on both sides. So it becomes positive on the other side. So here we will have y is equal to x plus x is equal to 3 plus x. So negative x plus x give us 0. So you remain with 0 plus y is equal to 3 plus x. So here in the equations 2, we are going to have y is equal to 3 plus x. So now that we have presented the two equations in form of y is equal to mx plus c, let us see what do we do with these equations that we have represented in form of y is equal to mx plus c. So the reason for doing this is to make sure that we easily find the values of y, because so that we don't struggle that much. If we only have the equations that we have not manipulated or that we have not made y to be the subject of the formula, and you have the values of x and you put the values of x here, still you are going to have the pain of actually getting rid of what is here so that you remain with y. So we do it earlier so that it avoids confusions in the. And if you do it like that, it actually makes it much more easy to do the calculations. So that is the reasons. It gives us an advantage of not making mistakes. It also gives us an advantage of also saving more time. So we go to step number 2. Now after we have presented our two equations in form of y is equal to mx plus c, we are going to assume the values of x for both equations, equations 1 and equations 2. Now if we assume the values of x, okay, what are we going to do with them? We are going to substitute them into the corresponding equations so that we get the values of y, okay. So we will substitute the values of x later to y equations, that y equation. So let us look at the table of values for y equal to 7 minus 4x, which is equations 1. So I have created the table of values here. First of all, I write down x, I write down y, but I have equated it to 7 minus 4x. Actually, y is equivalent to 7 minus 4x. So you should know that. That's why I put it here for easy identifications. And then the last one here are the points, okay? The coordinates point. So when we have x is equal to 0, we take 0 and put it in place of x here. And if we say 4 times 0, we will always get 0. So we are going to have 7 minus 4 minus 4 times 0, which is 0, so we are going to have 7. So the coordinates are 0 and 7. Let's go to number 2. When x is equal to 1, when x is equal to 1, we put 1 in place of x. So we are going to have 7 minus 4 times 1. That is going to give us 7 minus 4. So 7 minus 4 is obviously 3. So the other points are going to be 1 and 3. Let's go to number 2. Number 2, x is equal to 2 here. X is equal to 2, we take 2 and then we multiply it with 4 and then we subtract it from 7. So we are going to have 7 minus 8. Then which is going to give us like negative 1. So you have 2 and then negative 1. Then we have 3, so it's going to be 3 times 4, so 7 minus 4 times 3, which is 7 minus 12. 7 minus 12 gives us negative 5. Then we have 4 here, we take 4 and we multiply it by 4, which is going to give us 16. So we are going to have y is equal to 7 minus 16, which will give us negative 9. So the coordinates are going to be 4, negative 9, 3, negative 5, 2, negative 1, 1, 3, and then 0, 7. Now, if you know how to plot the coordinates, you can plot this point and then you draw the graphs, and then you will find line. So we also look at the table of values for equations 2. Y is equal to 3 plus x for equations 2. So what happened when we let y to be equivalent to negative 1? We put it here, so it's going to give us 3 plus minus 1. 3 plus minus 1 is just the same as 3 minus 1, which is 2. So we have negative 2 and positive 2 for the first point. Second point, we have zeros, so it is going to be 3 plus 0. 3 plus 0 is still as 3, so we are going to have 0 and 3. X is equal to 1, so we are going to say 3 plus 1, which is going to give us 4, so we are going to have 0.1 and 0.4. Then 2 is x is equal to 2, so we are going to put x in place of 2 in place of x here, so we are going to have 3 plus 2, that gives us 5. And then 3 plus 3 gives us 6, so we are going to have 3 and 6. So now we have the points for equations 1 and points for equations 2. Now the only thing left for us is to plot them on the Cartesian plane. So we take us to the third step. The third step is about plotting the points that you have gotten from the different values as they assume different values of x, and then with the corresponding values of y. And then the next thing that you are going to do now is to plot this point on the graph. So let us look at what a Cartesian plane is or what this graph is all about. So the Cartesian plane is actually made up of a small number of squares, and then it has x and y axis. So whereby the horizontal line is x axis and the vertical line is a y axis. So here we are going to see how we plot the two straight lines. Here, from the table of before, we had 0 and 7. So 0 and 7 is there in that point. Then we have 1 and 3. 1 and 3 is here. 1 and 3 is here. Okay? And then we have 2 and negative 1. We have 2 and negative 1 down here. And we also have 1 and 3, something like that. 1 and 3. Yeah, I already mentioned it. So the next things remaining is 3 and negative 5. So we get 3 here for x and negative 5 here for y. So that is line y is equal to negative 4x plus 7, or y is equal to 7 minus 4x is just the same, just that I have written negative 4x first. So let's go to line number 2. Line number 2, you plot the points. Line number 2, we start with negative 3. Negative 3, x is equal to negative 3 and y is equal to 0. So that point is going to be along our x-axis at point -3. And then we are going to have -1 and 2. So -1 and 2, we have a point here. Then 0 and 3. 0 and 3 is going to be actually along y-axis and at point 3 of y. Well, and then we also, actually 3 points are enough, but let us take one more point here. I have taken 2 and 5. 2 and 5 there give us that point there, and then you join the two lines. If you join the two lines, you join the point, the 4 points. So if you join the 4 points, you will get a straight line. Y is equal to x plus 3 is a straight line. Now, what were we actually looking for? Why do we have to do all these complicated steps? The reason is just simple. In order for us to find the values of x and y. So how do we get the values of x and y after we have drawn the graph? Now, as you can see, the two lines here have a point in which they cross each other. And that point is called the point of intersections. So what we do is that point of intersections, we trace it to find the corresponding value of y, and we trace it down to find the corresponding value of x. So if we trace it down, we realize that this point is in between 0 and 1, but it is closer to 1. So we know the points that are closer to 1 is 0.9 and 0.8. So actually, in a real sense, this does not look like 0.9. It actually is 0.8. So x is equal to 0.8. Secondly, we trace it to the y-axis. So if we trace it to y-axis, we see that the point is going to be in between 3 and 4, and then it is more closer to 4 than 3. So we are going to have 3 point something, and that point there might be 8. Actually, it's 8. So we are going to have y is equal to 3.8. So this is basically what we had been looking for. So it will be correct to say that the value of y is equal to 3.8 and the value of x is equal to 0.8. And then we have now solved simultaneous equation graphically. So what is it that we actually do? So we are going to do the conclusions here. The conclusion is just about telling you the step. The step number 1 is rearranging the equation in form of y is equal to mx plus c by making y the subject of the formula. Second step, we are going to assume the values of x and put them into the table of values, substitute them into the equation to get the corresponding values of y, and then get the coordinates. After you get the coordinates, you plot the graph using the coordinate from the table of values, join the coordinates with a straight line, and then get the value of x and y. The value of x and y is going to be where the two straight lines, and that is basically what it is all about. So thank you very much for your time. Hopefully this video helped, and please I will keep on posting more videos, so keep waiting for them, and thank you.